100 years of delay have passed since President Lincoln freed the slaves, yet their heirs, their grandsons, are not fully free. They are not yet freed from the bonds of injustice. They are not yet freed from social and economic oppression. And this nation, for all its hopes and all its boasts, will not be fully free until all its citizens are free.
I think the thing is that most people are brought up to believe in this idea of law and order and justice, that it actually exists. It's some concrete thing that you can believe in. And if you've had anything to do with the criminal justice system, you quickly discover that it's so arbitrary that it doesn't exist.
I try to make the distinction between legality and morality. At one time, I thought if it was legal, I thought it was morally, I thought it was holy, I thought it was good. But I found out that legality and morality are not friends, especially in the courthouse and especially in America. When chattel slavery was abolished, a lot of people think that slavery was abolished for blacks in America. Slavery was abolished in America, but not so. There is a clause in the Constitution which says that you can be re-enslaved if you have been duly convicted of a crime.
So when they abolished slavery, say, they brought in vagrancy laws, which meant that you could be picked up because you were homeless or you had no money. So it enabled them to literally close the doors of the plantation, throw the people out, and then pick them up and arrest them under vagrancy and put them back into the plantations that they came from. The difference being that this time they never had their families with them, they never had their women with them. They were worked to death, and the average lifespan for someone who was put into a prison was about 6 years. They worked them to death and threw them in the river.
Black men who had been allegedly freed from slavery and not having any economic base, any economic means, not after having gone through 200 years of psychological warfare and turmoil, they never were treated. They never were given any type of reparation in any form. And as a result of that, many of them turned to crime. There was an economic reason for many of them going to prison.
Angola, for historical note, is the biggest prison in America. Thousands of black men or thousands of people are in Angola, and people die there. When you're sentenced to Angola, you maybe have lifetime in prison or 300 years or something like that. So the conditions are really bad.
Angola Farm is Louisiana State Penitentiary. It's an 18,000-acre former slave plantation named from where the best slaves apparently came from, was Angola. 18,000 acres, it's like a state within a state. It produces 2/3 of all the organic fruit and veg for the state of Louisiana. But people don't realise is that there's a 13th Amendment that states that slavery is not abolished for those committed of a crime, which means the people inside Louisiana State Penitentiary, they work on a chain gang. They work 16 hours a day in unbelievably hot weather, picking cotton. I think it's at least over 80% of the prisoners are black. The average prison sentence is over 88 years. And so for every 10 people who walk into this prison, only one will ever walk out alive. It is slavery. It's just under a different name. It's called prison.
So Herman Wallace and Albert Woodfox helped start a chapter of the Black Panther Party in prison, in which Robert King was a member. Zulu became a member of the Panthers in Angola. And because they organized to stop sexual rapes and demand proper food, they had strikes and other activities that manner to make the prison system treat them in a humane type way.
The thing about Angola, when the Angola Free were first imprisoned, is that it was considered the most brutal prison in the whole of America. There was systematic rape of prisoners. An example is that their food was served underneath their door, and so it would get all crap and dirt on it as it was being served to them. And Robert King and Herman and Albert, they organised a hunger strike, and I think For about 60 days they refused to eat until their food. It was because of them that they had holes cut into the doors and the food would be served in trays, because they refused to be treated like animals.
You can never whip these bugs if you don't keep you and them separate. I found that out in Birmingham. You've got to keep the white and the black separate.
Haven't been receptive, haven't been primed from a youth to recognize the oppression that was directed against people of color. It was easy for me to attach myself to the ideology of the Black Panther Party. When the Black Panther Party came along, the 10-point platform, saying that we want freedom, power to determine our destiny. That was something I thought black people had never had, not in America.
So because of the Angola 3 and members of the Angola prison Panthers, they started attacking them, And so what happened was a prison guard was killed, right? And they blamed it on Herman Wallace and Albert Woodfox. Now, they also blamed Robert King, but Robert King wasn't in that prison yet. He was in another prison. And because when he got to Angola, he joined the Panther Party, they just threw this other charge on him. Like he was, he wasn't even there. And they know that. That shows you how vicious and blatant they were.
I did 31 years total, 29 in solitary confinement. Initially, I was charged with an armed robbery. And of course, like Herman and Albert, who also was charged in an armed robbery, but later they was charged with allegedly participating in the death of a correctional officer. And this was in 1972. And they each, despite all the countervailing evidence, showed that they were actually innocent of the crime. Herman and Albert both remain in prison to this day.
For Amnesty International, it is deeply shocking to know that there are two men who have spent almost 40 years, practically every day of that 40 years, in solitary confinement. You don't have to stop and think about that for long to know and understand how horrendous that must be, how appalling, how inhuman that treatment is. And for Amnesty International, we are campaigning and we will continue to campaign to have that drawn to an end.
They're locked up 23 hours a day in CCR, which is closed, confined, restricted area. They're only let out 1 hour a day to do exercise, and they're locked back up. That's because the prison authorities are still afraid of that message.
It's difficult to completely understand why these two men are being held for so long in such conditions. There are hearings that take place every so often about holding them in solitary confinement. I think there have been something like over 150 of those. They seem to be rubber stamp affairs. So I think what we have here is a system which has simply allowed year on year to pass. We are absolutely certain that part of the reason why they were put in solitary confinement for in the first place was their political activity in the Black Panther Party. So we're sure that played a role. And it is only to speculate that continues to carry a role, but I'm sure it does. That and the inertia of a system that refuses to look at these two men as fully human and to do something different 40 years later.
And there are others besides Herman and Albert. We call ourselves the Angola 3, but refer to ourselves as being Angola 3, now 2, but we can go on and say that there are the Angola 33, 333, 3,033.
You say we want freedom, we want power to determine the destiny of our black community, full employment for our people. Number 3, we want decent housing fit for shelter of human beings. Number 4, we want all black men to be exempt from military service. Number 5, we want decent education for our black people in our community that teaches us the true nature of this decadent racist society. Number 6, we want an end to the robbery by the white racist businessmen of black people and black people in their community. Number 7, we want an immediate end to police brutality and murder of black people. Number 8, we want all black men held in county, state, federal jails and prisons to be released because they have not had a fair trial, because they've been tried by all white juries, and that's just like being tried in Germany being a Jew. Number 9, we want black people in brought to trial will be tried by members of their peers. And number 10, he would say, let's just summarize it. We want housing, we want clothing, we want education, we want justice, and we want peace.
The Black Panther Party, in the very beginning, we call ourselves the Children of Malcolm.
They put Moses in jail. They put Daniel in jail. Why, you haven't got a man of God in the Bible that wasn't put to jail when they started speaking out against exploitation and oppression.
Because it was through Malcolm's death in 1965 that the Black Panther Party came into being in 1966. And also in 1965, there was a big riot in Watts. We call it a People's Rebellion. But the combination of Malcolm X being killed and the People's Rebellion led way to the Black Panther Party. We had inherited the same struggle that Marcus Garvey participated in, the same struggle that Paul Robeson was fighting for rights in, and also Martin Luther King and other civil rights workers. But it was the Black Panther Party who was basically a youth movement. 16, 17, 18-year-olds like myself. I joined the party when I was 17. The reason why young people was attracted to the party because they were tired of dogs being sicked on people or being hosed down for registering to vote. Our parents went along with turning the other cheeks, but by the time 1967, 68 came, young people was tired of turning the other cheek and they wanted to fight back. And one of the ways they did that was joining the Black Panther Party.
Why don't you get behind the word Black Panthers? I've said to some news people. Get behind that word Black Panthers. First of all, ask yourself, why did you have the development of such a group as the Black Panthers in this country? Ask yourself why they came into existence in the first place in this country. Then after you get past that stage, you should say hallelujah.
I think the nature of a panther is that if you push it in the corner, and if it can't go left and it can't go right, it's going to tend to come out that corner to wipe out the aggressor who pushed it in the corner in the first place. I said, that's what the racists have done, Huey. They didn't push us black folks into the corner. And we decided to name it the Black Panther Party.
When the Black Panther Party came on the set in 67, people seeked us out all over America. So people came to Oakland to find out about our program, how we was organized, and they went back to their areas and organized Black Panther Party chapters. The Black Panther Party functioned under our 10-point program, what we want and what we believe. And we went forth in the community to establish people power. So we started a number of social programs that wasn't covered very much by the media, but that is what the Black Panther Party is known for in America. They're known for these social programs. People might say, oh, I know the Panthers through the guns and protests, but it's the people in the community that came to our breakfast programs, free food programs, busing programs to prison. We even had an ambulance that took people to the hospital. We had a senior escort service to escort seniors to the banks to cash their checks. So we had something like 28 social programs to serve the people.
The people who set up the Black Panthers, Bobby Seale and Huey Newton, were law students. They understood law. They understood that white people are allowed to carry guns, and so they said, well, why can't black people? It's our right. It's our right in the American system to carry guns.